Wrong title.
I don't know what happened there. Let me fix it.
If Jen set it up, I think she forgot to do the drop down.
Her computer died, so she didn't set it up. So I think I just skipped this step and rescreen.
Can you upload a thumbnail too?
Yeah.
You need me to hold this?
Yeah.
Wait. You should just put this on the floor so you don't have to. We're live? Is she sending out the text? Okay. Yeah, if you could put in a thumbnail, that would be good.
I just did. It's going to take a second.
Hey, it's Jordan. I am live here in the Bronx in New York. It is, let me check, almost 90 degrees out. Feels like 100 degrees. We are right in front of, right there. This is AOC's office in the Bronx. It also is shared with a local assemblywoman, Carinas Reyes. But this is AOC's local district office in the Bronx. As you can see, it's gated up. From what I've been told by folks that are here, this is technically public hours for her district where they're supposed to be open, so I'm not sure why it's closed. But you have, I'd say at this point probably maybe 24, maybe a little bit more, 24 people here outside for a Medicare for All, essentially rally/protest outside the Congresswoman's office. A lot of folks here, some of the folks here were at the Medicare for All march in Washington, D.C. that Jen covered the other day. And now they've come up to essentially protest based on feeling Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez is not honoring what she ran on, is not fighting hard enough to achieve Medicare for All, to pressure for Medicare for All. So we'll be listening to speakers. By the way, Susan Sarandon is here too. Susan Sarandon is here. So we'll go show some speeches.
When do you want it? Now. What do we want? Medicare for all. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Medicare for all. When do we want it? Now. Woo! All right. So we're going to get started. We got amazing people with us. We got Susan Sarandon. We've got Joy. We've got a lot of the organizers who just pulled off this incredible march in more than 50 cities with no corporate media coverage, no support, and not a single representative, member of Congress even mentioned it until the actual day of the march. And I don't even think that any of them have still said anything on social media. So the fact that you all, everybody here who contributed to organizing that, pulled that off is really incredible. And you should all give yourself a round of applause. We have some people here who are true heroes and legends in this movement, whose stories they've been courageous enough to share with all of us, with the country, with the world. Very personal stories, including people like Joy, Savage Joy, who spoke at the Force to Vote Town Hall, who emceed the action in D.C. Yeah, woo! Give a shout out to Joy. Joy put together an amazing event in Washington, D.C. I was there. We had maybe 600 people, an incredible lineup of speakers. And the best part is knowing that this is we're just getting started. We're just getting started. So the first person that we thought it was only fitting to give it to speak and to tell her story and to say why this is so important is Savage Joy. So Joy, I'm going to hand it to you and thank you for everything that you're doing for this movement.
Yes! My holder so I can read with my device.
All right.
Be patient with me. It's hard to read here. And I'm so nervous. I don't know why I still get nervous, but So, I guess my first question is, do you guys remember when AOC protested Pelosi's office? Do you remember when she went in and she did a sit-in? And she was an activist? I interviewed her around that time. I believed in her so much. I was so excited. I was like, yes, Bernie is, inspiring all these progressives to come out and really fight for change. And I believe that she was. I believe that she genuinely wanted to. I really do. But unfortunately, something we've seen all too many times is when people get elected, things start to change. And I am done with accepting people telling me that I cannot be pissed because as a disabled person, people are not sticking to their promises. I'm done with it. Stop being ableist and privileged and telling me what I'm allowed to be pissed at. Stop. It's not fair. I've voted for people. I've donated to people. I canvassed for people. I did all of that, and then I'm getting shamed because all I say is I want you to live up to your promises. Yeah. AOC has not even so much as tweeted Medicare for All in months. She has over 12 million followers. That has a huge, huge impact on people. Just one tweet. This is not about me and my comrades who organized all the marches. She doesn't have to tweet about those. That's fine. This was grassroots. We don't need support of anyone. We just welcome people who support us, period. So, but the fact that she's not talking about Medicare for all at all, when we are literally watching eugenics of the poor as we speak, people are dying unnecessarily. And even in a pandemic, we cannot even get these people who say that they support Medicare for all to actually act on supporting Medicare for all. Lip service is not enough. That does not save lives. And people say, well, you know what, Joy, why don't you go protest Manchin or something like that? Here's why. If you pay for my plane ticket, I'll go. But also, Manchin and people like him never said they supported Medicare for all. That's why. Because the chance of trying to turn someone like him into suddenly supporting Medicare for all when he didn't even support it during his campaign is literally not feasible. So that's why I am holding people accountable. I am not calling names. I am not insulting. I am saying you made a promise. You signed documents when you joined Justice Democrats that said you would fight. You sat on my show and you told me that you were an activist, and I believed you. And you are doing not even the bare minimum of tweeting Medicare for all. That is unacceptable, period. So for those who don't know my story, about 18 months ago, I woke up with 85% of my eyesight gone. And I shared my story on Force the Vote town hall. And since then, I have been doxxed. I have been threatened. I have been told that people will call Social Security and tell them I'm lying about being blind. I have been harassed. I have been called every name in the book just for wanting people to have health care. This is all I want. And the fact that those of us who are fighting for this are being attacked like we are horrible people for wanting to help humanity is unjust, it's ugly, and it's inhumane. And I'm sick of watching so many people do it. You don't have to join us, but stop disrespecting us. It is ableist as fuck to come at disabled people and say, now is not the time. How dare you tell me when the time is? Are you gonna pay my thousands of dollars in medical bills? Are you gonna tell me it's okay when I get medical bills for $24,000 because every 30 days I need eye treatments? Are you gonna pay these? Are you gonna help me when I'm dealing with the trauma of all of a sudden not even so much as being able to walk without falling and walking into doors and walls and needing to ask my husband for help to do the littlest things like plug in my phone charger? Don't tell me I don't have a right to be upset. That takes audacity. I have every right to be upset because people who told me they were going to fight for people like me are not. This is about holding people accountable. If you think that me saying AOC hasn't tweeted about Medicare for all in months is an insult and an attack, ask yourself why. Why are you offended by that? Tell her you're offended by that because it's a fact. Don't get mad at me. I'm just pointing it out. So, what I guess my main point is that we, the disabled people, deserve to have a life of dignity. We deserve respect. We deserve to be able to speak our minds and tell people that we are upset. We deserve to hold people accountable. We do not fucking need permission. You don't get to tell me what I can and cannot say and what I can be pissed about. It is my right. And you telling me different is ableist and privileged, and I'm done with it. That's it.
Thank you, Joy. Next, we have someone who's a real hero in our movement, actress, activist, humanitarian, Susan Sarandon, who spoke at the marches just on Saturday. And
thank you, Susan!
thank you, Susan. Susan has taken all kinds of crap from the establishment and the media for supporting Bernie Sanders, for supporting independent parties, but she's still here, and she's showing up even at this event, and that takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of guts when you have the kind of profile that Susan does, and it's just an honor and a pleasure, Susan, to have you here speaking up for this cause in the way that you are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I mean, I was really grateful that Russia became such an enemy because that got the pressure off of me. As you know, I was completely single-handedly defeated Hillary Clinton and was responsible for the Supreme Court. So I thank you all for still being on my side after all these horrible things that I did so powerfully. I don't know why they didn't run me as president, because clearly I could have performed miracles in terms of running. You're right to be upset. You're right. It's very hard when people are especially saying things that are untrue, let alone unfair, to detach somewhat emotionally from that, especially when you're so vulnerable. But I think we have to know that the fight is what's important. I mean, as much shit as Bernie's getting, sometimes from people who don't understand the complexity of what actually he's accomplishing and what he was up against, it's hard to see him get in trouble with people that were his own followers. But having been around him so much through 2 campaigns, I have to say that even knowing what had happened during the primary, he went out on the road and went to more places than Hillary Clinton went to. And the way that he did that was because he has purpose. He has so little ego involved in this. It's all about purpose. And my hope is that the younger generations who are not enamored by a party name and are looking more at policy are going after things that have to do with policy and real systemic change, and not just trying to keep one team ahead, no matter how Joe Manchin votes. The fact that he is considered a Democrat is just ridiculous.
Right.
Right? You know. So I'm from Jackson Heights. As a kid, I was in Jackson Heights. I was baptized at St. Joan of Arc Church, even though later on the nuns said I had an overabundance of original sin, so I guess it didn't go very far, that baptism. But so I was one of the first ones out of the gate for AOC before she was a rock star, and I did walk the streets of Jackson Heights, and I'm very pleased to say that, you know, she, against all that money, managed to survive, and did that because of the inspiration of Bernie Sanders, who proved that that was possible. And we've seen a number of people that have waged campaigns without all that money. Right now, Nina Turner's trying to go up against the machine, and they're throwing millions of dollars of misleading TV ads and things against her because they can't have another progressive. They would do anything to make sure Nina doesn't get in. So it is an uphill battle. Now, I think that the squad, I think maybe in their minds they think that there's a certain way to fight from the inside that's different than actually making a strong stand or withholding their vote or some of the strategies that we talked about. I think that we have to hold a space for them, but at the same time tell them that we have their backs if they do something that is braver than what they've been doing. It's true that we don't know everything that's going on, but I think we don't have time really right now for a long-term strategy. We do not have 10 years until we get more progressives into the House and the Senate. There are too many people that are dying. We're going to have another COVID run soon. We have people that are getting evicted. We have people that don't have food. We have everybody falling through the cracks between opiates and all kinds of things that I saw all over. And it's quite clear that all the campaign promises were just bullshit. So as long as there's a Joe Manson or a parliamentarian, they have an excuse for not having things work out because they're not using in their imagination. They're not using courage to try something else. Maybe they only are in for one session. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can guarantee that it's going to be very difficult to get people to turn up for the midterms when they've gotten nothing specific, when the checks have been less and to fewer people, when there's no health care. And we would think that in the middle of a pandemic that made it so obvious that there's a huge schism in this country when so many people lost the insurance that they had and so many people didn't have insurance. What happens when that happens is something that happens to the entire country, not just the people that are unfortunate enough not to have the money to be covered.
That's right.
So I'm here to say to the squad, and especially AOC, who, did make a lot of promises, that we still have faith in you, and we would like to see if you have a better plan than we've been able to see, please share it.
Yeah.
If there's a pathway that you've got that we're not aware of, please share it, because we're losing hope here that you represent us. And it's so difficult for people that are independent to get elected in the first place, and then to see the very people that sponsored the bill not stand up for it is very disheartening.
Yeah.
So there's no name calling going on here. We're just saying we are your constituents. We trust you. We want to trust you. We want to tell you, though, remember how much we're hurting. Remember how bad things are all over this country. And please do something outside the box. Please get creative. Do not play the game with Joe Biden, with Republicans, who's basically Joe Biden. Do not play the game that they've asked you to play, because really the only way things are going to change is from the bottom up. We've seen that the top does not care. They do not care. They have their lobbyists from the insurance and from pharmaceuticals, and that's the bottom line. So all we can do is know that you are leading the good fight. I mean, it matters how you live your life. It's not so much about an immediate result necessarily. It might take a long time, but what's important is that you try and that you show up. You have to show up, and you have to get other people to show up. And I fear that in the next midterms, it's going to be hard to get people to do that. So let's give them an alternative. Let's encourage our people that we got in that call themselves progressives to be brave. Let's tell them that we've got their backs if they do. And, it's great to have a rock star from New York that's there and has 5 million followers, but let's use those people to our advantage. And if they have a secret that they haven't shared with the long-term gain here, let's remind them that a lot of people don't have time for a long-term gain. A lot of people are on the brink now.
Yep.
And we need action. Because even if they took action now, it's going to be a while before we see it. So to put off a vote again and again and again, I can guarantee you that it definitely won't pass that way. At least if they put it down for a vote, we'll see who stands by it and who doesn't, even if it doesn't pass. But not bringing it to a vote for 30 years definitely won't get it to pass. So I don't see the logic of that. Anyway, thank you all for coming here, for standing in the heat. I appreciate all of it. Keep pushing, keep educating, because so many people just do not understand if they're watching mainstream media. I thank all the independent media that's here. Get them to tune into something else for a change so they can actually know what's going on. Especially if they're old like me, for some reason they don't seem to be able to discover any independent anything. So let's tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your babysitter, whatever. And let's try to get people with more information than what they're getting from CNN and those guys. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you, Susan. We're finding out who the real fighters are here. This march is revealing the real fighters. Susan. All right. Thank you, Susan. Susan got to something that a lot of people online have been asking. Why are we here? Why aren't we in front of the White House? Right? Why aren't we in front of Joe Manchin's office? Well, they didn't even promise to fight for Medicare for all. AOC did. And she has 12 million Twitter followers. All the combined work over the past several months that I've seen from organizers, many of them here to put together these marches, if AOC had put out one tweet, the size of those marches, or God forbid, committed to organizing and activism. She ran not to be a politician, she ran to be an activist and an organizer who happened to be in office.
Yeah.
Imagine if she had committed herself to organizing the march. Imagine, why is it that people, I know, when you get into Congress, you get a $174,000 salary, you get a pension after 5 years, you get the best health care in the world, but the rest of us are still suffering.
And paying for their
Yes.
health care.
If AOC had actually committed, or the squad members, they have millions of followers, the ability to get press, attention, anytime, and they were supposed to be our extension of the movement in Congress, fighting to represent us. Not just accountable to the party leadership, to the corporate party leadership. What good does it do to have representatives in office who don't take corporate money if they're listening to the politicians that do? If she had committed herself to organizing, or the other squad members had committed themselves to organizing, to bringing people out to these marches, they could have been 10 times, 100 times bigger. That's the power they have. Injustice isn't just the misuse of power, it is failing to use your power for good.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King said, at the end of the day, what we will remember is not what our enemies have said, but the silence of our friends.
Yep. True story.
What has the squad done? Let's think about what the squad's done since they took power. They don't need full majorities. Right now, they have enough representatives in the House to dictate whether the Democratic Party is going to pass something. And you know what? Bernie Sanders, who I worked for in 2016 as the National Political Outreach Coordinator, he hasn't as many votes as Joe Manchin does. He could make the same demands. Why isn't he doing it? Why not? Why does it take people who are struggling to painstakingly pitch together events to fight for their rights, rather than it being the people who we specifically sent there to do it? So let's look at what the squad and AOC in particular have done. They had an opportunity to actually force the vote for a floor vote on Medicare for all in December. All they had to do was leverage the vote for Speaker Pelosi. Imagine how popular that fight would have been if they'd taken it public. Guess what? Nancy Pelosi, one of the most disliked politicians in the entire country, is standing between you and not even Medicare for all, health care for everyone as a human right, which our country is the only major country on earth that doesn't have it, but she is standing in between you and even voting on that. AOC, when she was asked just a year ago, she was asked whether the Democratic Party, what is its ideological character? And she said, she actually went out of her way, and she said, we don't have a left party in this country. The Democratic Party is a center conservative to a conservative party. And when she was and then she thought for a minute, how can I best illustrate that? And it was incredible. It was in the moment. She said, we can't even get a floor vote on Medicare for all. So this isn't a left party. This is a conservative party. That's how she chose to illustrate it. Well, guess what? A year later, she had the opportunity to be the one to get us that floor vote, and she didn't do it. What does that say about her according to her own classification? It says that something happens to you when you get into the Democratic Party. Nobody goes into the Democratic Party and comes out further left. It's systemic. It's structural. That's what we need to change. That's why we helped organize this as the Movement for a People's Party. That's why we participated in a big way in the marches for Medicare for all. That's why we were the only major national organization that helped organize Force the Vote. As much respect as I have for organizations like DSA, who have it in their own strategy manual to achieve Medicare for all through a floor vote, they didn't go for it. They weren't there in the end, and they weren't here now either. But guess what? For 5 years, Bernie Sanders set the benchmark. He planted the flag for this movement, and as the Democratic Party actually has for decades before him, and he used and elevated the idea of healthcare as a human right as the quintessential injustice in this country. He ran on Medicare for all first and foremost. Well, you can't plant that flag for 5 years, and then when the Democrats take full majorities in the House, Senate, and the presidency, decide that you're going to walk away from that. We remember. It was a few months ago, and we still need it. You can't back away from those promises. Remember when they told us push Biden left? Yeah, elect Biden, then we'll push him left. That's not what's happening. That's a classic tall tale. We hear it all the time. Obama ran on Medicare for all. Nancy Pelosi was for Medicare for all. Jerry Brown was for Medicare for all. The list goes on and on and on and on. Medicare for all is an election ploy that the Democrats have used for decades to hook people who are desperate to get them voting for them long enough so that when they have a full majority again, they can abandon it as quickly as they campaigned on it. And what we have unfortunately discovered in recent months is that doesn't end with the politicians that are taking corporate money. It extends even to our friends in office, even to the squad members, unfortunately, who we want so much to believe in. I wanted very much to believe that they were going to force the vote. When AOC, Cori Bush withheld their votes, there was a glimmer of hope. Someone's going to fight for us. But they didn't. And they didn't do it on a $15 minimum wage either. And they didn't call Biden out when he abandoned even the public option. And then they gave him an A. Pramila Jayapal gave him an A, a grade A for abandoning even his moderate promises. Forget the progressive promises. The moderate promises. An A+. An A+. But AOC, she went even further. Pramila Jayapal said, I give him an A+. AOC, she spoke for the whole movement. She said, he has exceeded progressives' expectations. For all of it, does that ring true with you? Has Biden exceeded your expectations? Send her a message. Has Biden exceeded your expectations? No! So why are you giving him cover, AOC? Why are you giving him cover as a squad? You are permitting them to move to the right. You are permitting them. And some of us don't have the luxury to allow that to happen.
She won a committee seat back.
They have so many mechanisms of influence, as E is saying. As E is saying, when you get into the Democratic Party, they have the committee assignments over you. You have so many incentives, so many structural incentives. Your personal incentives and your professional incentives are all of a sudden misaligned, and it moves people to the right. It does, and this is not a new phenomenon. This is decades old, and we need to learn from it. And that's what we're doing as the People's Party. I'm going to hand it over now to someone who just joined us, if she's ready. If she's ready to give him hell, like she's been giving him hell for the last 4 years, running against Joe Manchin, running against Shelley Moore Capito. Even when she won her primary, the Democrats came in and worked against her. She was the general election candidate. Imagine if instead of Joe Manchin or Shelley Moore Capito, we had Paula Jean Swearingen in office right now. Paula Jean Swearingen would be getting arrested on the floor of the Senate. That's what we need. Paula, I'm going to hand it to you, and it's just amazing to be working with you.
Hey, everybody.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Hey, everybody. There's a reason why I'm here in the Bronx. I'm a coal miner's daughter and granddaughter. I've suffered most of my life. I'm a grandmother now. I've lived most of my life in poverty. I know what it's like to go without a glass of clean water. I know what it's like to struggle and go hungry when the market for coal's down. I know what it's like as an activist to move into to being a political candidate when I never wanted to be, but nobody would challenge Joe Manchin. But I'm going to tell you who stood with me. AOC, Cori Bush, which Cori Bush was out yesterday. She came out to the marches. I hope she signs their petition. But I've stood shoulder to shoulder with these people because children in my state and here in the Bronx stood with us. The Bronx stood with West Virginia. Now I'm back here where she worked with me. I'm here to say I stand with the Bronx. We need Medicare for all. We need a living wage. We need roofs over our heads. We need something so basic as a clean glass of water. And people ask, why are you not asking Joe Manchin for this? We have for years. People have to get arrested in him and Shelley Moore Capito's office to be heard. And this is a sound check, AOC. This is a sound check, sis. We stood with you. We need you to stand with us. You need to stand with the people that donated, worked hours and hours to get there, stood shoulder to shoulder with you and amplified your voice. There were people all over this country standing out in the street still, begging for Medicare for all. And all it would took, God bless her for being out with Senator Turner and trying to get her elected, but all it would have took is a tweet, an email, and just saying, I still stand for this, and sending people out and mobilizing and telling the people that she works with now to do their damn jobs. AOC, do your damn job. We got you there. We need help. People are dying in this country. It's not going to change if the people that we work so hard to get there, and once they get there, they turn their backs. We had a racist implosion with the Democratic Party in West Virginia. We have struggled. They've been in charge for years. Manchin is in charge of it. He's a total failure. We sent these people there to do this. I've left the Democratic Party because I can no longer put my head on my pillow at night and stand with people that will stand for blatant racism. That don't think that my grandchild deserves a clean glass of water in the future. We can't do this. This is a sound check. Do your job.
Thank you, Paula Jean. We need people like Paula Jean to keep hope. We need to be able to believe in people and in movements and organizations to be able to continue doing this. I want to hand it over next. Zaina, if you're ready to say something. Zaina Day, who many of you know because she's been organizing with the People's Party for a few months now. Before that at BNC for 4 years. Before that as an investigative journalist. And she's brought an incredibly professional and capable work ethic to the People's Party and to the March for Medicare for All. As everybody knows here, she's been a tremendous force helping to organize the march as well. And Zaina, just like Paula Jean, helped get AOC elected, worked very closely at Brand New Congress with AOC and helped put her where she is now. And now I think that Zaina, just like Paula Jean, has something to say to AOC.
Yeah!
So guys, I'm going to start with a story for you. 4 years ago, I signed up with Justice Democrats and Brand New Congress to volunteer. I worked 100-hour weeks in 2018 to support candidates that weren't taking corporate money, candidates that signed on together to promise to stand for a Green New Deal, to promise to stand for housing for all, to promise to stand for Medicare for all, when it was only John Conyers' bill. This is before Bernie even released his. We were fighting for that. Those were the fundamentals. The fundamentals are the bar is up here, and anyone below that bar is suffering. They should not be having us play Poverty Olympics to try to decide who deserves health care and needs help in this country. We all damn well deserve health care. My daughter deserves health care. 3 weeks ago, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks with intracranial hypertension. I was there for 4 days. I was out for a week and a half, and apparently I've been walking around for about 7 years with basically symptoms of a brain tumor. And I went out and I organized for these people. I came up with talking points for them to say to the press. I wrote the scripts, damn it. I wrote the scripts, but it was my pain. It was our pain. It was every single donor's pain. It was every single organizer's pain. It was every single voter's pain. You get up there in office, you keep your damn promises. We worked hard. We got you there. We did it with the Democratic Party fighting against us every damn step of the way. And we did it. We got people in, but you know what I was told? I was told, oh, Zaina, this is the long haul. This is the long haul. Maybe we'll get 2 or 3 people elected every year. You need to be happy with that and still keep doing messaging for us. You need to be happy with that and talking BS and getting us donations while we're working on a long haul. My daughter, I need health care. You need health care. Nobody should have to wait till they're 65 to have health care. Back home, they're sitting around on their front porches talking about when they can get their injuries looked at, when they can get their feet looked at, their teeth looked at, when they turn 65. In a decade, I can get some help. No one should have to wait for a damn decade. No one should have to wait 30 years, 40 years. AOC said the other day, she knows my daughter. She's met my daughter. She said the other day she hopes that by the time her daughter is grown, her age, that she'll have health care. What? We're not waiting another 40 years. Hell, Roosevelt rolled out the Second Bill of Rights 80 years ago, y'all. 80 years ago. We have been waiting a century for this. A century for this. Bill Clinton campaigned on it. Every single conservative that runs promises us health care. Trump promised us health care. But these people, these non-corporate folks were supposed to be our saving grace. And the Democratic Party worked against them every step of the way. Paula Jean, she won her primary this year. She won her primary, and the Democratic Party, instead of supporting her, supported Shelley Moore Capito. So why do these representatives have some loyalty, thinking about political games to get people over to our side, and maybe they'll give us a little bit. Pramila Jayapal saying, we got 5 years, we're going to lower it to 60. That's a few more people on health care. She wrote the damn bill, passed the damn bill, right? We're tired of the showboating. I'm tired of writing messaging for people using our pain, using our feet, using our dollars, using our damn voices to get up there and break their damn promises. I had faith. I love some of these people like family that have made it in. I love Cori Bush. She did show up yesterday. I love her. AOC, I respected, and I had hope in her, and I was filled with joy and also apprehension when she won because I knew what the party was going to do. I knew what the pressures might do, and I was terrified that all this work we did would be for nothing if she went up there as the first one and turned her back and started placating and celebrating Biden, celebrating him on immigration. He deported more children while he was vice president than Trump ever deported, and there are still babies locked in cages. It's not okay, you guys. And I thank all of you for showing up because, like I said, it was our feet, our dollars, our heart, our dreams. We didn't get them a job. We sent them up there to do a job for us. Yeah. And it's damn time that they do. And thank you, guys.
Thank you, Zaina. Someone who's worked more closely with the candidates, AOC, Cori Bush, Rashida Tlaib, than anyone else in the country to put them where they are. Next, I hope we've got Sharif. Sharif, you around here?
He went to go get Scott, but he asked me to speak on his behalf.
Okay, that would be great. And I guess you're ready.
Yep.
You got a red bull on and a blue bull on.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming here. Thank you so much for coming to our March for Medicare for All 2 days ago. I am so humbled to have been the lead organizer for that. I'm so glad that we had so many great speakers to come out for that. And I'm glad that we're finally realizing what the Democratic Party is. And that is the same as the Republican Party. They're playing within the 40-yard line. One's on the offensive line for the billionaire class, the other's on the defensive line. Both parties are two sides of the same corporate coin. And even though there might be some well-intentioned progressives running within these corporate parties, the fact of the matter is that party leadership dictates the direction of the platform, and neither the Democrat nor Republican parties believe that health care is a human right, so therefore when you vote for them, you're voting against your own self-interests. The majority of Americans support a third party, so therefore Democrats and Republicans are splitting the working class vote. That's why we need to support the Green Party, Movement for a People's Party, and any other party that takes the revolution outside of this duopoly, because that's the only way we're going to get material change for the working class. I myself have grew up in Astoria, Queens. I've lived in AOC's district my entire life, and I voted for her twice. So why is it that she has abandoned her campaign promises on Medicare for All? I'll tell you why. Because she wants to make sure that she appeases her corporate masters like Nancy Pelosi instead of us. Well, I'll tell you what. If Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are owned by the special interests and the greed of the private health insurance companies and the big pharmaceutical companies, then all the progressives in the squad are by indirectly and de facto also owned by those corporate masters. They might not take the corporate money, but guess what? AOC's Courage to Change PAC tried donating $100,000 to right-wing Democrat incumbents. Can you imagine the audacity? Can you imagine someone like my mother-in-law who works as a waitress and gets paid in tips, nothing, who had COVID, who could barely breathe, and around the time of Force the Vote, when this all happened, there was a lack of a sense of urgency from these politicians in Congress. If not now, when? Why? Why do you take our money? Why do you take our time if you're going to turn your backs on us? What we needed to do was force the vote. All it took was a simple withholding your vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker. They couldn't even do that. They instead referred to Nancy Pelosi as Mama Bear. Well, I'll tell you something, AOC. You need to be more accessible to your constituents. Because when we go to your offices, you don't even have staff here to say, oh, hey, how can we help you? So who's in a leadership? Who's leading our community right now? It's not AOC. It's time we take the revolution outside of the two-party duopoly. It's time that we hold our progressive leaders accountable, because technically they're supposed to be on our side, and you'd be more strict with your own child than the children of others, right? We're not doing this out of bad faith. We're not hateful. We're disappointed. I don't want to be saying these things about my representative. I don't take joy in this, but we have to. The only way we're ever going to push Biden in the direction of the working class is if we push the progressives in the direction of the working class. It's common sense. 90 million Americans are either uninsured or underinsured. Hundreds are dying every day. We are suffering, and it's not because of any other reason besides greed. And we have hatred and anger among the working class right now. The working class is hating on each other because of the misknowledge that perpetuates our society from the mainstream media, because it's all part of their divide and conquer agenda. Because it's much easier to conquer a divided population than a united population. And that's why these marches were so essential, because we had populist left and populist right coming together on a unified goal. Nothing scares the shit out of the establishment more than that. And nothing scares the nonprofit industrial complex more than that, because the peasants are organizing without their input or approval. And look, I will say this. I'm a dues-paying member of the DSA. Many members of the DSA are wonderful people, but the leadership is fucking corrupt.
Yeah.
Okay? They rejected our calls to come to our march and instead held a different protest at the same exact time. Granted, it was a good protest. It was about anti-war. Sure, great. But at the same time, at the March for Medicare for All, if that's not controlled opposition, I don't know what is. And I don't want to hear any more condescension about we got to wait for a more convenient time. We got to wait till the next election cycle. We got to wait till the next president. We don't have time to wait. People are dying. They are starving. They are homeless. The lack of urgency means you are on the side of the establishment. We have to take it into the streets. Even if it's just a small group like this, it scares them. It's a glitch in the matrix for them. It's the best thing we can do. And just because we're not getting covered by the mainstream media, we have good people. We have Status Quo here is covering us, alternative media like Breaking Points. We need to have more awareness coming from the alternative media. So please support your alternative media, because that's the way we get the message out. That's the way we get the word out.
Say your name, Eddie.
So yeah, my name's Edwin De Jesus. I'm a Green Party candidate for City Council in New York City's 22nd District. And I will say, I'll just end with this. You know, my mom, she works in a warehouse, a local warehouse that's going out of business due to Amazon's monopolization of the market. And we need to tax Jeff Bezos because he is paying literally $0 in taxes and looking down upon us from space or whatever. Meanwhile, my mom worked every single day during this pandemic with no hazard pay, coming into contact with tons of people. And she makes barely enough to get by. So we need to fight for the most vulnerable. We need to fight for those who live in public housing. We need to fight for those who are disenfranchised and affected by the lack of health insurance the most. Black women have the lowest life expectancy in the USA. So if you believe that we should have justice for all races and all classes, you would support Medicare for all. Single payer, not a public option, zero copays, zero deductibles, free at the point of service.
Yes.
So if we don't get our demands met, we are going to file a complaint to the UN, a human rights violation, because we are being killed. We are being killed while the ruling class gets to eat very nice and well. So next time you see a politician, throw pie in their face. All right?
If I could afford it.
Thank you so much.
So shit, though. That's the soul. I have to think that. Let me work on that.
Next up. Next, we have someone who came to town. Some of you may have heard his story. This is... Thank you. I'll trade you. We have someone who traveled into town. We're really lucky that he did. Because his story, there's so many heartbreaking stories out there. People who've spoken today, people who are here today. But Scott's story is one of the most heartbreaking stories I've ever heard. And I've never personally experienced something or a family member, I've been fortunate that in my close family, we have not experienced something as Scott has, but millions of people across this country have. And the devaluation of life in this profit-driven health system that was exposed by Scott's story is disgusting, and it's inhumane.
That's right.
So Scott, thank you for coming all this way and telling your story.
Thank you, Nick. Everyone, as Nick had said, my name's Scott Denoyer. I'm here to demand Medicare for all. We're not asking for Medicare for some. We're not asking to have the corporate health insurance rape the Medicare or Medicare trust fund. We're here to say that human life is a right. Everybody has got the right to live. My son Danny was 29 years old. He had some problems. He'd come to live with me. After a couple of weeks, around the middle of March, he comes home and he goes, "Pops, I went to get my medicine refill today and found out that my insurance has been canceled." The insurance he was on was Fidelis Care, part of the ACA's managed Medicaid program. I told Danny, "No worries, son. How much is it?" Tells me it's $250. It was a big deal. We didn't have $250. I told him, "Danny, not a big deal. You've got an appointment with your therapist in a couple of weeks. I'm sure she can help you out. In the meantime, you should call Fidelis and find out what's going on." When he called Fidelis, he found out he missed a $20 payment to his Medicaid program. The medication they cut him off of was risperidone. It had a known suicidal risk from withdrawals. 3 weeks later, on April 9th, I saw a suicide note on Facebook. He tells us, "I can't get above this pain, and I've decided death by drowning. I've superglued my seatbelt shut. Checked it twice. I don't have the strength to open it. I'm sorry for hurting those who care. Daniel and Hazel, those were his children. I'm so fucking sorry." And he drove his truck into the Mohawk River. This ain't right. My son was on Medicaid. Medicaid, a program for the poorest and sickest among us. Centene is the one who owns Fidelis Care. They made $60.1 billion and had a 24% growth in 2018 after adding managed Medicaid. Fast forward to the year of pandemic, $111.8 billion, almost doubled their revenue during a pandemic. The faster we die, the more profits they make. This is disgusting. Every other country in the world guarantees health care as a human right. Here in America, we guarantee contracts that deny us health care. If you don't pay for that contract, they're now threatening us with a federal penalty. You either pay to get denied health care or you'll get penalized by our government. Our Vice President, Kamala Harris, shared Danny's story. I was thrilled. I was overjoyed. I thought she was really going to fight for us. 3 weeks later, she introduced her plan for corporations like Centene to sell us Medicare. She used Danny's story as a commercial for the ones who murdered him. Every time you hear a politician, they say they want to guarantee you access to health care. That's what they're selling you. A contract that will deny you care when you need it the most. This ain't right. We're going to continue to march. We're going to hit every single politician's office, and I will continue to fulfill my promise to my son. I will make our lawmakers look me in the eye, and they will see the consequences of their decisions. 262 people will die today because a medical treatment that is available was not affordable. That's 262 Dannies. That's 262 children, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, uncles. This is wrong. Why? Why do we have to be victimized by our country so that a few billionaires can get richer? My son's life was worth more than $20. Shalyn Villela, her life was worth more than $2,000. Alan, he died because he didn't have $250 for his insulin. His life was worth more than that. I could tell you about Abby, who was denied insulin. I could tell you about so many people who are dead and gone from us, and every single one of them was somebody's child. All 262 people is somebody's child every day here in America. We're going to continue to fight until we win, because no one fights alone, and that's the way we win this.
Yeah!
By the way, right now there's about 260 to 270 people dying a day for coronavirus. So the numbers are very close to how many people are dying from lack of health insurance and how many people are dying right now because of deaths by COVID.
No, not at all. Help yourself.
Thank you.
Look, it takes 60 batteries. If you run out, we'll go get more.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Always.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you. Before we introduce our last speaker, and we can and should open it up to stories here, because everybody's got a story. But before we introduce Sharif, I want to say that there was someone that was supposed to be here with us today. Everybody who's here with the People's Party, you know him. His name is Phil Ateto.
Yes.
Phil is one of the most kind, generous, and most remarkable people you will ever know. About 18 months ago, Phil has been struggling with multiple myeloma cancer for 10 years. About 18 months ago, he was told that he only had a few months to live.
Please be respectful and listen. Thank you.
His doctor at the time, thankfully, was a fighter and refused to give up on him. And he said, no, there's another treatment. There's another treatment. It's new. Let's try it. Don't give up. And Phil tried it. He had to fight the insurance company. The insurance company denied him Care First. They denied him the drug. But Phil finally beat them. The community in Annapolis, the community in D.C. that Phil has, the activist community, came together and they put Care First on blast, and Care First gave in, and they gave him the drug. And that drug was a miracle drug. Phil is alive today because it was a miracle drug. And he has since really devoted himself to building a People's Party as our National Action Coordinator and our Regional Coordinator for the Northeast. Phil, about a few months ago, in February, Care First sent him a message and said, we're now denying you the drug again because we've determined that it's not medically necessary. The drug that kept him alive, they said it's not medically necessary.
That's disgusting. Some bureaucrat made that decision.
That's right. It was an algorithm. It was a calculation that made that decision that said, we're going to make a little more money if we cut Phil off and if he dies. Phil rallied again and he fought them again. And he beat them again. We beat them again. But when Phil went on the drug again, it didn't have the same effect. Phil had been in remission for the first time in 10 years. And this miracle drug had stopped working after the intermission period where the insurance company cut him off. And so while we're here, Phil is recovering from having undergone chemotherapy. It's wrong that insurance companies do this. It is wrong that our politicians allow them to do this. We are the exception. What makes the people of this country less worthy of living, of surviving, of being able to count on their health care, of not having their relatives die, of not being one payment away from going bankrupt? What makes us less deserving than the people of other countries? Nothing does. Nothing does. So we have to break this political system because it's not serving the people of this country.
Yeah.
I want to introduce someone who's done a lot to accomplish that. And when everybody told him, everybody told Joy, everybody told the organizers it couldn't be done, they did it. They pulled off some incredible marches. Sharif is a constituent. Sharif Snuggs is a constituent of AOC's. And he's here to tell you what he thinks of the job that she's doing.
Yeah.
Hey guys, how you guys doing?
Yeah.
So I live in Jackson Heights. I don't have a sad story. The reason why I got into this fight is during COVID. I know most of you guys all know that Jackson Heights is probably the most hard-hitting neighborhood in New York City. Seeing that much death, seeing that many people being buried is it puts you in a weird spot. Like I'm new to activism and organizing, and COVID got me involved. To be quite honest with you, prior to that, like most people, I just stayed home and watched Netflix. I wasn't engaged in politics whatsoever.
Don't be modest. This is the first time
Yes, thank you, Joy. So yeah, seeing so many neighbors and seeing some of my community members being hurt, really woken me up. Really scared the shit out of me. Put everything in perspective. So that's really my truth. That's my story. That's really why I got into activism and organizing. And listen to Scott's story, listen to Joy's story, and reaching out to so many different people in my community, reaching to so many people online, and sharing their stories with me just really wanted me to fix this problem. And I protested in front of AOC's office during Forced to Vote, right with Ricky Dunlop and so many others that I get to meet in the People's Party, in the Green Party, and there's so many other activists I got to meet during this journey. We wanted to go to our representatives and ask them, why are you not doing something? Why are we not helping during COVID? What answers can we get? We're here in front of our office today. The gate is locked. We don't have anyone to talk to when we have a problem. That's an issue. I have a concern with that. We should be able to call someone, email someone, to even text someone, even live out a tweet and say, hey, this is a problem in my community. There's no one I can talk to. Why is that? Where do we go? And we're going to continue doing more marches. We're going to continue doing more rallies. We're going to continue doing more civil disobedience. This is necessary. This is unacceptable. The fact that people can't afford their insulin. People can't even go see a doctor. I know tons of people who won't even go see a doctor because they're afraid of getting a bill. They can't even afford it. Part of my story, I do have health insurance, believe it or not, but I get health insurance through my job. So I just recently got a raise of $2. I make $12 an hour right now at iPick Entertainment, located in the financial district. And so let me tell you guys, before I got my raise, I've been with iPick since 2017. When I asked for a raise before, you know what I got? I got health care. So this is a problem. I'm going to tell you why this is a problem. Wait till the train go by. This is a problem because I made $10 an hour during before the pandemic. So the number one thing that all these jobs do, and when you ask for a raise, they give you a perk. And one of the perks is healthcare. Having healthcare tied to employment is gross, it's insensitive, it's inhumane. And because it keeps you locked to a job you don't want, it keeps you locked to a job that you have to keep, because guess what? If you don't like your job, you now lost your health care. Now you can't go see your doctor. So I'm tied to my job, because guess what? That's how my kids are safe, and that's how I'm safe. So now I have to work at IPIC. I make $12 an hour, which is not enough living in New York City. You can't raise 2 children. You can't pay $1,800 rent, because that's what my rent is cost in Jackson Heights. That's how much it costs. And so this is the problem. It's tied together. So when people think that the duopoly and healthcare isn't linked, think about the fact that when you go to your employer and ask them for a raise, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to offer you a perk. They're going to offer you a benefit. And you ask yourself, if the benefit is tied to healthcare, that's a problem. And we need to have a conversation about that. And that's where we need to go back to our community. We need to go back to people like AOC and ask her, what is she going to do? Why so many of us have to keep dying each and every year because you refuse to put up a floor vote? That's what we was asking. We wasn't even asking for you to pass Medicare for all. We was asking to put it for a vote. You know, so many of us are here today are still asking for that right now. We just want help. We want an answer. You know, we're not coming for you. You know, we'll follow your lead, but give us an answer. You won't even give us an answer. You refuse to address us, and that's a problem. That's my truth.
Thank you, Sharif. Yeah. So, these politicians who say that they stand with us, they need to hear that message. They need to hear it from constituents like Sharif, who live that pain, who live that suffering, who live that difficulty, and they organize in the conditions that Sharif lives in, making just $12 an hour, trying to raise a family in one of the most expensive cities in the world, and having to, in addition to that, take on another full-time job of organizing. When we hired these politicians to do that organizing for us. Stand with us. Stand with the movement that put you there. Because we need you to do that. That's why we came here. So, I want to thank you all for coming here. If there's anybody else that wants to tell a story, it would be welcome to. You're welcome to right now. But we have got to build the kinds of alternatives that we are building now. It is a gradual process because these two parties have made it extremely difficult to build a major new party. But what we are doing, the organizing that we're doing, it's getting their attention. That's why there's so many liberal trolls coming after us on social media. That's how you know that you're making a difference, is when they start coming after you.
Fuck those people!
Damn right. So, we as the People's Party are going to continue fighting back. We're going to continue organizing things like Force the Vote. We're going to continue participating in the March for Medicare for All and everything that happens going forward, because we're not going to retreat. We're not changing. Medicare for All was the bar that you set. It's the bar that you were elected to represent as the progressives in Congress, and we're holding that line, and we're going to represent it, and the people of this country are coming around. There's 2/3 majority now that want a major new party. Half the country is independent. And so that's why we're building the People's Party. We're organizing. Every independent party out there is doing good work. This is exactly what we need to be doing, because it's clear now, it's abundantly clear that the change is not going to come from these two parties. So thank you to everyone who's organizing for that, just as you're organizing for the issues. Let's make this damn change.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Erbo, so I go by E. I've been undocumented and stateless since I was probably the age of 8 in 1979. And even though I'm undocumented and stateless, there's no difference between me and a citizen when it comes to health care, between me and a legal permanent resident. I have to go to the emergency room if I have a serious problem with my health. If I get hit by a car, if I get shot, stabbed, whatever happens, wake up with pneumonia, I have to go to the emergency room. And so does a citizen, so does a legal permanent resident, because nobody has health care if you're part of the working poor, right? If you're not a rich parasite or some trust fund brat, you know, you have to pay or go to the emergency room. And you're in the emergency room for hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. You can die in the emergency room just waiting for health care. So it's despicable. And all the trolls that Nick talk about, you know, all the people, and I'm speaking for myself, even though I'm in the People's Party. People like Ryan Grimm, people like TYT, Sam Cedar, they contributed to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people. According to the World Autometer, over 625,000 people have died from COVID. A third of those lives could have been saved. But those people I just mentioned, they were doing access journalism, and they're trying to protect the careers of politicians while people are dying. So it's bullshit. And, you know, thanks to the People Party, thanks to the Green Party and everybody else that came out today. This is a working day. You see here, the sign says, where is it? Days of operation, Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. But guess what? They'll be closed today for no apparent reason. Look at that. We shut them down. Just like they closed City Hall Park on the third nicest day of the year on a Saturday. I've never seen that since Occupy Wall Street many moons ago. So we're having an impact, even if it's a handful of us, 2 handful of us. Medicare for all. Anybody that's against that, fuck those people. Medicare for all. It's a human right. And, you know, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, E. All right. Anybody else want to say a word?
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah. Power for the people.
Yeah.
For those who don't know me, I'm Jason Anthony. I'm here on behalf of Chris Moss.
Yeah.
Fuck
Jeff Bezos.
Fuck Jeff Bezos.
Fuck Jeff Bezos.
Chris sends his regards to everyone. He couldn't join us, so he sent me in his behalf. Yeah. Once again, Jeff Bezos went to the moon. But again, he left us. He left us, like Chris and I, without health insurance. As you know, Chris is a single father of 2, without employment because he was a whistleblower at Amazon during the early days of COVID. I was in the trenches with him during the early days of COVID. But guess what, folks? Recently, the IRS pardoned a millionaire debt to a Puerto Rican that had a millionaire debt due to health insurance, that his body was burned up to 70% of his body due to an explosion that he had in Mexico. His health insurance back in the island denied his coverage. And yet, the IRS pardoned his debt. Why cannot the IRS can do the same for us? Why we have to struggle to pay for health insurance? Health insurance is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Especially for those who suffer from mental illness, like myself. Okay? So, when you work in an isolated place like Amazon, that you have to work 10 hours a day without knowing what goes on the outside, you oftentimes feel isolated, depressed, with anxiety. The health insurance options that offer Amazon oftentimes covers one thing but doesn't cover the other. And if you're covered by Medicare, you have to choose either keep the healthcare option that Amazon offers you, or to keep Medicare, or pay the high premiums of Amazon's health insurance, or pay nothing with Medicare and look for every single doctor that is in the city. But guess what, folks? It is time to tell that spoiler of Joe Manchin, because Joe Manchin is not a real Democrat. He's a spoiler. Why I call Joe Manchin a spoiler? Because he is not a real Democrat. He serves the interests of the Republican Party, because the governor of the state of West Virginia is a Republican, and he serves the interests of the Republican Party and the establishment of the Democratic Party. And why are we standing here of the office of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? Because she is a member of the squad. And what she has done for us? Absolutely nothing. But yes, she could have called out Jeff Bezos by establishing HQ2 in Kingsbridge. But yes, she could have done that years ago, but not forced a vote regarding Medicare for all. And not calling out Nancy Pelosi regarding the dangerous consequences that they are doing to us human beings that we sacrifice working our asses off and paying our taxes every year to support their well-being. This fight doesn't end here at the Parkchester section of the Bronx. We need to go to AOC's office at Jackson Heights and make some noise. And she doesn't answer there. We take an Amtrak train to D.C. and make some noise there too. And I will join you guys, because I'm so fed up of the Democratic Party and the goddamn establishment. That's done more harm to good to the essential workers like myself and Chris Moss. It is time to say it is enough. Either you give us Medicare for all, or you will get kicked out of office in the next primary. So, power to the people!
Stop giving them your money, too.
Can anybody hold this?
Yeah.
So, just you
just hold the trigger and talk. Hold it real close to you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. How's everybody today? Yeah. I'm not really good at public speaking, so bear with me. But I felt like I had something to say. Coming into this movement, I, like many others here, was awakened by Bernie Sanders' campaign. And as a person who was a former Democrat and liberal, thank you, E. I voted for a Barack Obama's campaign. I, like many of us, was fooled by his campaign promises of bringing hope and change and changing the status quo. And I admit, Obama put me asleep, and I had not paid attention in regards to what his administration was doing, bailing out Wall Street, his drone strikes, kicking 5 million people out of their homes so the banks could claim them. And unfortunately, I was close to sleep to, I was, I guess, out to brunch before it became a thing. But until Bernie Sanders, towards the end of Obama's second term, and Bernie Sanders ran, that really, it made sense to me. Everything, clicked, and I was inspired by his campaign, and support him all the way. And I saw what they did to him. They did damage to me, did to him by putting the sun on scale and bringing the primaries against him and us. So at that point, it told me that the Democrat couldn't be reformed. I just had enough with the Democrat Party, and I just left and I switched my registration, and I ended up voting for Joe Stein that year. But for many years, I became apolitical and disillusioned. But I immediately became awakened again this past year because of COVID, and I feel like I knew how to get involved and try to do something. For me, in regards to AOC and the Justice Democrats, I had left the Democratic Party back in 2016 because I think Maya Angelou said it best: when people show you and tell you who they are, believe them. Right. And what I saw in 2016 told me all I need to know is to pack up and go. And because of that, I just stopped supporting the Democratic Party in general, regardless whether they say progressives or whatever their campaigns promises, because I just didn't trust them. And I was really dismissive of AOC. And of course, the campaign promises while we were all here is Medicare for all, and it's just something that they all ran on and pushed. And I saw that at the time that they didn't push was because they wanted to get rid of Trump and focus more on Trump. And I was thinking to myself, okay, once Trump lost, once they did that, when he died office, then they focus and focus on Biden. And that's when force the vote came along. So I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I really hoped that they would take on this down like they promised. But turned out, of course, they didn't. I attended the force the vote town hall, and none of them even showed up. None of them even promoted it on Twitter. All they're doing is basically tweeting and gaslighting us. And I'm very glad that Justin Jackson used his platform to challenge AOC. And even with his status, she still tried to get him in the run around and saying that, they couldn't, force the vote, do this or that because the $15 minimum wage was doable, which it turns out, they didn't even force the vote on the $15 minimum wage either, and they kicked it to the parliamentarian because, Joe Manchin is, or Kristen Sinema, they're too mean, and Joe Manchin is just a fall guy, he's just another corporate Democrat just like everyone else, and he's beguiledly take the fall for the establishment, and he has, I believe he himself has ties to Big Pharma. I believe his daughter is a Big Pharma CEO, or at least was, so he definitely has connections to them, and it just told me all I need to know about the masks coming off when it comes to the Democrats, and the way that some people gatekeep and not support movements or Medicare for all because they don't like certain podcasters or they don't like certain people online. I'm really familiar with what happened online, and I wish we all had that nuclear power with like Jimmy Dore does, because he certainly brings the noise, and I wanted to go scorch off. I know many of us are still have certain attachment and feelings toward the squad and the Justice Democrats, but I am not one of those people. I don't care. Like I call like I see, and you know, if there were regular working class people holding the jobs and were the bosses, we will have fired them a long time ago. You know, politicians aren't their friends or public servants, and they're there to serve you. You shouldn't be afraid to burn bridges with them. You know, it wasn't only because they're the ones, if they're not doing their jobs, they're not serving the people, they're the ones who burn their bridges with us. Not the other way around. You're supposed to hold them, account them, and go scorch on them. They're not, you know, they're not supposed to be your friends. So I think people should really think about that and not and remember that they are there to serve you. And absolutely. And this is my very first time doing this, and I think the March for Medicare for All was my first like direct action. Before that, I, you know, was going through my own troubles. I had COVID in the beginning when it happened, and following that, I just went into depression and, you know, had anxiety, and I have a person with ADHD, so it was very, very difficult for me for the past year. And there were times where, you know, I felt like giving up. I just trying to push myself to keep going. Thank you. And what kind of like helped bring me out a little bit is the People's Convention last fall. Yeah, where you know, we held a vote and to go ahead to form the People's Party, and of course we had some growing pains in the following months, but you know, I kept you know, try to keep the faith regardless. You know, I had main doubts, I'm not gonna lie, but you know, I'm still here. I'm keep pushing, I'm keep chugging along, and I'm here today. And doing actions like this helped to inspire me, and I have found the courage to come here and show my support. And look, I'm a nobody. Like I'm not anybody famous.
Nobody's a nobody.
Yeah.
You're here, you are somebody. You came all the way from Long Island.
Yes.
A nobody wouldn't do that. You are somebody. Thank you. Sometimes I have many doubts about myself, but thank you. I appreciate the good feedback. But Jimmy Dore said that you don't have to be a famous person or anyone with a big platform. All you have to do, all you have to have is yeah. There's a running train up here. Yeah, Jimmy Dore said that you don't have to, you know, be anyone, have a famous person or have a person with enormous power. All he said that all you need was just courage. That's all it takes is courage to do the right thing. Yeah, and MLK said it's always a time to do what's right, and we gotta do what's right. And prior to coming here, I was actually watching the movie John Q, which is really relevant if anybody's seen the film. And one of the scenes, first, that movie came out in 2002, and despite, you know, like being a mainstream movie, the needle hasn't been pushed further. But one of the scenes in the movie is where Denzel's character says to the police negotiator and said that when people get sick, they deserve a little help. And what he also says is, he used the phrase, sick, help, sick, help, sick, help. And there's no other way to put it. When people get sick, people deserve to get help. They shouldn't file for medical bankruptcy, or having to watch your loved ones die because of you know, of lack of health care and yeah, so it's something that's very important, that we really have to fight the power and push those
that ran for our Medicare for all, and because we really need it. We cannot wait, and that's something we have to do like today. You can't wait till tomorrow. Today, right this minute. Yeah. And I'll share one more thing. One of the stories, and there's many of them that people have. One of these stories that sticks out to mind is about this little girl, 7-year-old little girl in Alabama, who had to go into business for herself and sell lemonade to save her life so she could afford life-saving brain surgery. And the corporate mainstream media ran off like as a good feel-good story. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like how
a feel-good story?
It's a nightmare. Yeah. A complete fucking nightmare. Yeah. Like, it's crazy, like how this little girl had to like go into work and go into labor in order to save her own life. Like, as soon as the doctor told her that she needed brain surgery, there shouldn't be no issues of what kind of insurance she has or what's her parents' finances. She should have gotten that surgery right there and there.
That's why we doing this.
Absolutely, she should have gotten it, no questions asked. And it's not fair. It's not right. Especially, someone as young, and essentially you're taking away, especially these young people's futures, and it's just not right. So we need to, as AOC has said, bring the fucking ruckus. That's what we need to do. Yeah. Absolutely. So that's what I wanted to say. I don't want to take up too much more time in case anyone else wants to speak. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
That's right. We brought the ruckus today.
Yeah.
And we'll be back. Yeah. I want to hand it off now to Zaina and to Paula Jean, and they're going to close us out.
Yeah. West Virginia.
Nick, can I say something quick too?
Yeah. Of course you can.
I didn't even look at my speech because I was so nervous. Is this working? Okay. So, I'm good. So, I wanted to say two things. Number one, to those who think we're asking a lot, as a disabled person, as someone with medical bills, things like that, all we want is just to know someone's fighting for us. We know AOC herself does not have the ability to pass Medicare for all. We're educated. We know this. We don't expect this. What we do also expect, though, is that she actually sticks to her promises, and she actually does what she says she's going to do. When you are, when you become disabled, you become incredibly depressed and have anxiety, and it is traumatic beyond words. And to have people that you once trusted completely silent on what they've ran on makes you feel completely defeated. That is what this is about. This isn't us expecting her to move mountains. That's not what this is. This is a very basic request. Start showing us you give a fuck. Secondly, try fighting for Medicare for all as hard as you fight to defend your hero. That's it.
Yeah. We love you, Sarandon.
Thank you, Joy. I think that was something similar that Paula and I wanted to say. We understand one person, just like Joy said, can't pass Medicare for all. But the problem is when you get to the Hill and you've made the promises that you are going to push back against the party, we've seen exactly what the party pressures do. I never considered myself a Democrat, but I'm here, and I fought with them, and I walked the floors for them because I believed in them. And they didn't challenge the system as much as they said they were going to. They got up there and they bent to the pressures. But there's still hope, and your constituents are still saying right now that you can do better. Do better. That's what we're asking. What we're asking is when somebody like Sharif organizes an event with Joy and literally thousands of other volunteers across the country in 56 cities to march for what you ran for, show the hell up.
Yeah.
Corey Bush showed up. Thank you for showing up. Sign our petition. petition. It's exactly what's on your policy. Sign it. You know, AOC, where were you? You were not not even a tweet. You didn't have to show up. Put out one of your Instagrams that millions of people follow. Put out a tweet. Just help. Help when you see people on the ground with the bullhorns. I always told the candidates, I said, we don't need damn heroes. We need bullhorns. Go up there and be a bullhorn. You went up there and you're being a politician. We didn't elect you to be a politician. We got enough of those. So that's what we're asking for. That's why I'm here at the People's Party too, trying to build out another party because I know the party pressures. I know the bugs in the ear on Capitol Hill. You can't do this, you can't do that. The backroom deal's got to be in the room where it happens, right? You know, but that's not enough. All right, Paula.
So the biggest thing here is, y'all, we stood out here how long? Out in the heat. Pass the bullhorn to AOC's constituents to give them a voice. AOC walked this district and got blisters on her feet to earn your vote. She knows what it's like as an activist to stand out and get blisters on your feet like I did in D.C. But she doesn't know what it's like to stand up in your ankles in acid mine drainage. She doesn't know what it's like to be up in your ankles in acid mine drainage, testing water. She doesn't know what it's like to be homeless. There's a lot of people, this is not poverty Olympics, but there's people that struggle more than her, put her there. And they need her support. Like my sister that was born with a birth defect. She had her 3rd brain surgery this year. She had the benefit of health insurance, but a lot of people in this country don't, that has faced the same struggles as my sister did. But my sister had that birth defect because of poison water. We stood with her because we struggled. I run for office because we struggle. Zaina worked behind the scenes because we struggle. And we're struggling out in the heat today. And instead of her setting, you know, she's out with Nina now, but she could have tweeted. But she should be here out in the street with us still, not just trying to earn votes, but getting blisters and fighting for Medicare for all, a living wage, everything, food, security, housing, everything that she promised. That's all we want. We helped you, and like I said, you know, she's shouting out for Mama Bear, but there's grandmamas and mamas like myself that just want a future for our children. That's right. And it's not about Mama Bear Pelosi. It's about the people struggling in this country. Just like Marianne Williamson said the other day, we're tired of getting breadcrumbs. We're tired of cookies. We want the feast because we're Americans, and that's what AOC promised. So AOC, like I said, sis, do your job. Yeah. I think that's it. Thank y'all for coming out, and everybody drink a lot of water and take care of yourself. And we're here for you.
So the battery on the camera is about to die, unfortunately. We didn't luck out there. We ordered some more batteries, so it shouldn't be a problem. Really powerful protest. I'll give my thoughts a little bit more tomorrow. This is what I think people need to be doing. This is what I think people need to be doing, not ranting and raving on the internet, not calling everybody and their mother frauds, sellouts, canceling people who aren't doing exactly what you want. You should be outside their offices demanding what you want constructively. This is actually constructive. If these numbers can build. Most of the people speaking here weren't demonizing AOC or the squad. Susan Sarandon, I think, said it best. We want to back you up. We want to be there with you. We want to believe in you. But if you're not going to do what you said we're going to do, we're going to be outside your office. Or we're going to go to D.C. Or, if necessary, we'll primary you. So I'm glad what I saw today, which is a lot different than a lot of what we've been seeing more on the online left. I'll have more thoughts tomorrow. We will be live on Wednesday from the coal miners' strike here in New York City. Tomorrow we'll be live also. And thank you for watching. Please, if you can, support us. Statuscoup.com/join. Statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 a month. And even more, go to my Twitter right now, @JordanSheridan. At the top, if you have not shared our Flint story, retweet it, share it, send it to people. We need to get this story out a lot further. We're not done trying to get this story out. We're not done pressuring the media. We just broke, in my view, the biggest government cover-up of the 21st century, me and Jen. And the media is crickets, and we're not going to allow that. We're going to continue to fight to get this story, get this cover-up out there to more people. So please go retweet at the top of my Twitter, get the story out to more people. Sign up if you can, statuscoup.com/join. Thanks for watching. Peace.